All right, we are live.
Okay, great. So this Park Commission meeting, April 6th, and it is 9:34. This is Phil McDuffie, and we will start with roll call. So as you appear on my screen, Nicole Marisi,
Here.
Mary Elizabeth Kofer,
Here.
and Chad Smith. You don't show up on this.
Here.
Okay, great. I think that's all we got.
Don Hudson's here also.
Oh, there you go. Don Hudson. I see him. He just showed up. Don, we're doing roll call.
Here.
Great. Okay. So we have quorum, and now is public comments. Citizens wishing to address the Park Commission for items not on the agenda will be received at this time. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. The Park Commission is restricted from discussing or taking action items not listed on the agenda. So citizens who wish to address the Park Commission may do so at this time. Do we have any public comments? You can do that by raising your hand down at the bottom of the screen. And then I believe our Ashley will unmute you if anyone would like to participate in public comments.
At this time, I don't see anybody's hand raised, and we have nobody on the phone, so we are set.
Great. All right. It's going once, going twice. All right. So next we have discussion and possible action on the meeting minutes from March the 9th of 2021. Does anybody have any amendments or actions to take on that? If so, you may make a motion. Not hearing any. Do we have anybody who would like to make a motion to accept the minutes as currently written? Don't all jump in at once. Mary Elizabeth, you're muted.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from March.
Nicole makes a motion. Mary Elizabeth still muted. Oh, she's unmuted.
I'm sorry, it took me a minute. I'll second it.
And second in. All those in favor, say aye or raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Both.
Aye.
Okay. Not seeing any opposition. The meetings pass as written. Next, we'd like to welcome our newest member to the Park Commission, Chad Smith. So, hi, Chad.
Howdy.
Hey, there you are. Welcome aboard. Glad to have you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Next, I guess we have an application for use by Kindred Heart Yoga.
Yes, and we have Andrea Barton here on the line to discuss her application.
Great. Floor is yours, Andrea.
We
we can't hear you, Andrea.
Can show you're not muted, but it's...
No, you're not muted.
Can't hear you.
Gonna drop off the call.
Oh, now we can hear you.
Okay.
There you
Hi. Thank you for including me in your meeting today. My name is Andrea, and I am a registered yoga teacher here in Austin, Texas. I'm a 500-hour registered yoga teacher. I'm a certified and registered prenatal yoga teacher and children's yoga teacher. I'm also a childbirth educator and most importantly, a mom of 3. And I submitted an application recently for you to consider offering, allowing my company, Kindred Heart, to offer prenatal and postnatal yoga in the covered space of the pavilion. And quite obviously, but I'll say I would be considering everything, both from the city of Rollingwood and from the city of Austin, with regards to COVID safety, social distancing, mask wearing, when people are either coming or going from the pavilion, and anything else that the city would like to see included there. Excuse me. I don't know if we have any specific questions, but given social distancing, it would most likely be very small offerings, considering the space of the pavilion. So perhaps it would be less than 10 people that would attend, but I'm thinking probably closer to 7.
Where do most of your participants come from or would live? Is it Austin? Is it Westlake? Which part of the city are they from mostly?
Yeah, so they really do come from all over. I taught in about 4 local studios prior to COVID. And once we went into our initial lockdowns and security in the city and the studios closed, I began offering online because I had a number of clients who were in the middle of their pregnancies or preparing to have their babies or had just had their babies. So I've been offering online live classes multiple times a week. And so that community, it's really fantastic that we've been able to keep it going, but they need to be able to see one another. And many studios have reopened and are starting to offer classes like this, but I would prefer to offer my clients a space that is an outdoor space that is protected from the elements. But they do really come from all around the city. I taught right here in Westlake at a local studio. I taught in South Austin, Central Austin. So most of them, I would say, would be coming from the very near vicinity of Rollingwood and around Rollingwood to make it to a live class now. Yeah, I myself live just west of Westlake. I live in the Barton Creek area, so I'm pretty close to you.
And then are you proposing, I see in here Tuesday, Thursday, 9:30 to 10:45. Would that be for the duration of the calendar year for 2021? Is that what you're thinking? Or is it?
I would be prepared to do that, but depending on how long you would approve something, I would be willing to work with whatever the city felt was best.
Do you already have a list of clients so that your class would already be filled as soon as it starts, or is there going to be openings for new people?
There will be openings for new people. We've had some clients who have had some connectivity issues, so the online isn't working for them as well as it had in the past. And other clients who are really just wanting to see others, have face-to-face interactions, even if it's across a distance. So it would certainly be open to new people. I do not have a set 7 or 10 that would immediately be willing to come into the space. So
And
I'd like to.
And you're talking specifically prenatal?
Well, one class, I would like to offer one class specifically for prenatal yoga and the other class specifically for postnatal yoga.
I can see that this would be good if you could do this in person, because I mean, these women are going to have their real specific issues, and checking them for body alignment, postural alignment, and so forth would be real important. Do you work with any specific OBGYNs in town?
I don't work with any OBGYNs in town. No, I don't. I've sent the birth centers in town may have received more of my information in the past, but no, I'm not partnered with any OBGYNs in town.
Well, I didn't necessarily mean partnered so much as have you spoken with them, done any presentations for them or anything like that?
No, that's a fabulous idea. I have not reached out to them directly. I've reached out to some midwives in town. And now that I'm finishing my childbirth educator certification, I will be trying to move into those spaces a little bit more to offer just beyond the yoga, but to offer education as well.
I used to do this. My degrees in physical therapy, and I used to do this for Chris Seeker, Mark Aiken, for their patients on a quarterly basis. And we did it just as an educational thing. But again, I can see that your service would be really valuable. And what would be the cost for these classes?
I'd like to keep these classes in the lower range of what you can find in a studio environment. So the price would be somewhere in the around $15 is what I've been doing for online. I don't want the cost to be a large barrier of entry for anyone to participate. So it would be no more than $20, but in the $15 to $20 range. I prefer to keep it lower.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And this is a question for City. The pavilion, I'm not sure if we have other groups that have requested that same time. Do you all have a list of other groups? I think Incinerate might be there, in seeing if there's any conflict of scheduling with a particular area during those days and times that Andrea is requesting.
We do. Ignite is usually done before 9:30. And of course, I'll reach out to her and make sure all the scheduling is, fine. And as we've been approving these commercial use permits, we've been letting people know that, if there's another group that's permitted before you, they have precedence over a certain area. I know sometimes Ignite is up in the upper park or lower park. And we have a few other groups that come in kind of other times throughout the day. But my understanding was she was done at Ignite before 9:30.
I think this sounds wonderful. If we can fit her in, I just think this would be really valuable to the community. I think doing yoga outside totally enhances the experience for people.
Okay. Well, do we have any motion to approve her application or anything like that? Or do we have any more questions?
I have a
I'll take-
question.
Oh, go for it, Don.
Do we charge people who use the park a fee for the usage of the facility?
We do. We have a commercial use fee, as well as a fee per trainer.
Okay.
It's a nominal fee.
And it runs for a year-long permit.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Is it $250 for the commercial use fee for the year?
I believe it's 140, and I can pull up the application.
I think it's 180.
Or 180.
And then is it $25 per instructor?
Correct. Yes, that's right.
Okay, thanks.
I'll make a move that we approve this. If there's no more discussion, no more questions.
Okay. Motion by Mary Elizabeth Kofer. Do I hear a second to approve? Anybody? How about you, Chad?
I'll second it.
Don, beat you to the punch. All right. Motion by Mary Elizabeth Kofer, second by Don. All those in favor say aye or wave or both. Aye.
Aye.
Nicole, you abstaining?
I'm going to abstain.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
So Nicole abstains. Everyone else approves. As far as I can tell, I don't know if we have enough, given that we are missing a couple of council members. Can we still approve it? Ashley?
Yes, you can.
Okay, so your motion. So congratulations, Andrea. Welcome.
Thank you.
Look forward to you with the yoga.
Thank you very much.
Great.
Thank you all for your time.
Okay. Next agenda item is discussion and review of the Open Meetings Act as it pertains to the Park Commission and City Council liaisons.
I'll go ahead and give a quick overview. I just wanted to review, based on the Open Meetings Act training that all the boards and commissions are required to take before they serve. and just go over a couple of the main points. And then if y'all have any questions or other, further potential legal questions, we'd be happy to get answers for those, or potentially bring in a lawyer at some point, one of our attorneys, to do a deeper presentation if y'all wish, but we just wanted to hit some of the main points. Starting with our Code of Ordinances, Section 2-194 states that all of our boards and commissions and committees established by the council all comply with the Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, commonly referred to as the Open Meetings Act. The act defines a quorum as a majority of the governmental body unless otherwise defined by law. So in the Park Commission, that's 4 members because we have 7. On City Council, that's 3 members. So just kind of something to keep in mind. If we have a vacancy on the board, that does not affect the amount required for a quorum. The Open Meetings Act defines a meeting as a gathering of the governmental body where either deliberation about public business or formal action is taken, or the governmental body has members where they're able to ask about, speak about, or listen to information relating to public business. I don't want to get too far into the details about everything else. The training is still available online. It's always available. It's only an hour long, and it's very helpful to review. And if you have any specific questions, I'm happy to try to answer those. Basically, kind of our stance on it is we just try to be careful and mindful of open meetings rules, kind of similar to whenever if I email out and I generally ask, please don't reply all. Normally replying all to an email is not necessarily a violation. We're probably not discussing public, business if we're just talking about attendance, but just something we try to keep in mind so that way it doesn't become an issue in the future. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to try to answer those or get you more information.
So if I understand correctly, when we reply on an email, it's best to just reply to the sender, unless we've already broken off into a non-quorum subgroup, then we can reply all, with the exception of if there were ever more than 2 city council people on that email. So it's 3 for city council, is that correct?
Correct, yeah, because it's less. And then emails are a little different. There's also the idea of a walking quorum, which would be where potentially, less than a quorum is discussing something. And then if anyone were to go and discuss it with another member, it could potentially still be considered a quorum. So that's why we try to keep, most business to, just lower than a quorum, or like you said, just replying to the sender. And I'm always happy to distribute information. If there's information we want to get to the entire board, I'm always happy to do that so we can make sure everything is open and transparent.
And then with regard to who our city council contacts are, or our liaisons, because we've now started breaking off into subgroups and are trying to get some direction on how to move forward with some of the master park plan initiatives. Who do we involve ourselves with, or does that matter?
Our 2 liaisons are Wendi and Buck. So they're probably always happy to give kind of the council's direction that's been given on something, or kind of what the council has discussed in the past relating to certain items. And then Wendi or Buck are always usually happy to answer questions and stuff related to those topics, but they're usually the ones you would go to. The only issue you might run into talking to another council member would be if 2 council members, your liaisons, have already discussed something related to that. And so it's not necessarily a violation. It's all up to, where the information travels later, but it's just best to be safe usually.
Well, I have something to say about this. First of all, when we talk about this, we're sitting here on a Zoom meeting. We could have anybody on this Zoom meeting. It's public. So we could have another council member listening to this and listening to us discuss this trail that we're talking about. That's what Nicole is referring to. Now, you can't keep that council member or anybody else from listening to this public meeting.
We have been advised by our attorneys that 3 members of a governmental body, if it's the council, 3 does constitute a quorum. We've been advised that we can't have more than 2 in a meeting. Obviously, the video is recorded and is on our website for everyone to watch later. But as far as in the meeting, that's what we've been advised
It seems,
based on the Open Meetings Act.
it seems to me that we're closing our government somewhat. In the past, and for example, when Robin Ryan was the city secretary, at the end of their, when they would post their agendas, for example, for the park commission, and I can give you very specifics if you'd like, not right this minute, I can only give you one. At the end of the postings of their agendas, they would put an addendum at the bottom. Members of other boards or commissions of the city in numbers less or more than a quorum may elect to participate in this meeting as a member of audience. Any discussion of city business which they hear or participate in is not intended as a member of the board or commission to which such members of the audience belong, and no action will be taken by the board or commission. However, the public is hereby put on notice that such attendance may occur, and all interested parties are invited to attend, observe, and participate in the park commission meeting that is posted above to the full extent allowed by the Texas Open Meetings Act and the law. It seems to me that we're trying to clamp down on some of the information that's put out there for people, and I don't understand this. And I'd like to open this up just a little bit more. Can you explain to me why we don't want to?
All I can tell you is what I've been advised and what the city has been advised by our legal counsel at this time. With further specific, questions like that, I'm happy to forward them on.
I would like you to do that. I've reached out to the city attorney, Charles Zeck, and I'd like to get more information on this. I want this opened up.
Absolutely.
I feel like we're closing it down. I want it opened up.
And Mary Elizabeth, just know that it's not that we want to do this. This is state law.
No, actually, I'm not sure that that's true. Again, as I just read you, up until recently, this was opened up where other people could attend. I don't understand why.
Right. And we were
Well,
advised by our
Mary,
attorney
just
that
because
that
they
was-
were attending doesn't mean that they were complying with the rules.
Right.
So a lot of stuff, a lot of the issues that we were having is we weren't complying with the rules. That's part of all the changes that the city's undertaken over the last 3 years.
Okay, you know what, Bucky? I appreciate your input here, but I'd kind of like to hear that from the attorney. Can we do that? Can I get that from the attorney?
We can have the attorney attend the next meeting and give another presentation.
And speak specifically to this. I don't want just to hear what was in the class or that we took. I would like to hear him speak specifically to this. An example is this. If I want to talk to someone, I was told that I wasn't even allowed to speak to another council member about some advice. We're looking at an 8% or 5% slope on a trail at the park. Well, we have another council member who's an engineer, and I was told that I'm not even allowed to speak to that person regarding this slope. I just don't understand that.
Yeah, I don't know the details of that conversation, but I know we can have the attorney attend the next meeting.
Yeah.
Mary Elizabeth, if you are referring to my communications with you, I told you in an email that you are absolutely allowed to talk to any council member that you would like to at any time. However, as a council member, Buck and I, if we work on a project together, we cannot communicate with the other council member because that is a walking quorum. You were not told by me that you couldn't talk to another council member. If you go back and read the email, it's in writing.
Very good. Thank you. All right, very good. Thank you.
So very good. You understand what you can. Well, the
Very-
rules are very good that you want the lawyer to come present at the next council meeting. And if you do want the lawyer to present, you should probably give some parameters of what you want him to talk about.
You know what? That's perfect. But let me go back and look at the email that Wendy's talking about because I understood it differently. I thought she told me that I should not have a conversation with this council member. Let me go
All
back
right.
and look at that. Can I get back with you guys next week on that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Mary Elizabeth, you can always put it on the agenda for the next park commission meeting or things like that as well. That's
Okay,
always an
But I
option.
think I should let Ashley know ahead of time as far as the city attorney so they can make plans.
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate your patience with me very much.
Okay. So I believe that addresses agenda item 6. Do we have any more discussion, anybody? Hearing none, we're moving on to agenda item 7, discussion and possible action to address erosion and maintenance issues on existing crushed granite trail in the park to investigate possible stabilizing surfaces or materials and to address a connection trail from the upper to the lower park.
Wendi, you, when we talked about the trail before and I was talking about the stay lock and you were in, which was the binder that's used on the Violet Crown Trail, you were interested in this, in learning more about this. And I talked to you because you thought it was interesting, not just for the trail that we're talking about possibly building someday, but you were interested in learning more about it for the existing trail because of the runoff problem we're having. I spoke to Tim Eischen yesterday and he said he'd be happy to meet with you and explain to you how it works and even take a look at the trail anytime. So if you want, I can connect the two of you.
Thank you. I would love to meet with them. I think that the trail is one of our most loved resources and it is suffering from erosion. And if there's a way to keep the granite from running out and running over in areas, I think it's definitely worth exploring. I do think it would be helpful to have it go through the Park Commission. If he could come in and make a recommendation to the Park Commission or a presentation. And then if the Park Commission wants to take it up as a project, then it could possibly be something that we put on the City Council agenda. But I'm happy to meet with anyone in a non-quorum manner who wants to meet with Tim and discuss this in a meeting outside.
We probably should walk the trail with him at some point so he can see the problem areas, because what he's probably going to recommend is that it be used just only in specific areas where their runoff is a problem.
That makes sense. Maybe would Dawn, you and Nicole want to meet up with me and Tim, and then we could all kind of walk it together so we all have the same information?
I think that makes sense.
Yeah. We're kind of getting connected with this trail business. So, I mean, is it possible we could just have somebody go by with a flat shovel and shovel the granite that's washing out of the trail back in place and maybe arrange the rocks a little better so there's...
You know, I think we're getting off topic on our agenda item.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I will, Mary Elizabeth, would you like me to contact Tim or would you like to contact him? And I'd like his 2 bits on our connecting trail as well.
Why don't we see if we can find a day next week that all of us can meet, and if everybody's in town next week, and
I'm in town.
then we'll do all that.
So
Chad, just a little background for you. Since you're new onto the commission, you're probably like, holy cow, what's going on? Maybe you already know and you've been up to speed. But so we have a master park plan that was approved by City Council. And then we have an initiative this year as a park commission to look at that plan more strategically and to try to come up with 1 or 2 initiatives that we'd like to put together the nuts and the bolts on to see how we could bring it to fruition. Okay. And so Mary Elizabeth, Dawn, and myself broke off into tackling part of the master park plan has a connection trail from the upper park to the lower park. That should be ADA compliant because that is part of sort of coming to the 21st century or whatever. And so we took the opportunity to meet with Rick Thompson, who is a drainage engineer. He has helped Rolling Wood residents, myself, as well as Dawn with other projects. And so he's been doing this for free right now to consult with us to give us a perspective on how we could make this happen and what it could take. And so just wanted to kind of give you that background to say, this is what this trail talk is all about. Is we have two issues going on. We have erosion that's on the existing trail, and then we're trying to connect the upper and the lower park via an ADA compliant trail. So that's just a little bit of background and kind of like the big umbrella picture of what we're discussing right now, and bringing you up to speed with that.
Got it. I would think that would be pretty challenging to make that ADA compliant with that slope between the upper and the lower. But I think it'd be awesome if we could connect the two.
It is challenging.
I'll bet.
And Don, I don't know, do you want to show, can you screen share what Rick had sent over?
I don't know how to screen share, but maybe I should forward it to Ashley out of my email. And let's see.
And the area we're talking about is where the old portable police department used to be, kind of in that corner lot by that parking area. And then there's a whole bunch of natural shade trees already there. And the water itself has already created somewhat of an erosion pathway. It's found its way down to the sidewalk off of Nixon. And so somewhere in that area is where Rick had been identifying what he would propose to be an appropriate pathway to be able to connect the two so that pedestrians and handicapped folks don't have to go through the parking lot or on the street per se to get from the upper to the lower park.
Got it. Thank you for that explanation.
You're welcome.
I'm forwarding this to Ashley, and
And Mary Elizabeth has a contact that through, correct me if I'm wrong, but Austin Trails or Austin Park?
Hill Country Conservancy is building the Violet Crown Trail. That's a 30-mile trail that goes from Barton Springs down into Hayes County. And a gentleman that is actually has become instrumental in building most of this, or a lot of this, is he started working with a product called Stay Lock, which is a binder that's used with the crushed granite. And this binder is used in varying amounts depending on how much is needed based on the slope and so forth. And in fact, in some areas, depending on how much of the trail is underwater or whatever. So what Wendi was referring to is there's parts of the trail at Rollingwood Park that we get a lot of runoff of the granite that runs off the trail when we get a rain. And maybe that would be an appropriate place to use some of this binder so we can still have the crushed granite, because we want the trail to be uniform, but we could have some of this binder in there that will hold the crushed granite on the trail. But it's obviously not necessary on the entire trail, because most of the trail, we don't have any runoff. Well, anyways, so that's the idea. And this guy, Tim Eischen, he's been working with this on years, and he's become pretty much the expert on this in the state of Texas.
wow.
And he lives locally.
Ashley, did you receive an email? Did it have the sketch that Rick put together as an attachment?
I did, Don. I am forwarding that out to the commission right now.
Are you allowed to share your screen, or do you want all of us to pull it open?
It only went to 3 of us, plus the city council members.
You know, I want to add one more thing. If you guys are interested, it might be easiest just to show you guys how this stuff works. My husband is George Cofer. He was the CEO, the executive director, whatever you want to call him, of the Violet Crown of Hill Country Conservancy. And he and Tim Eischen can actually show you guys how this Stay Lock works. So that might be even better. If you guys want, they can just show you this. Take you out to the Violet Crown Trail. You might enjoy seeing the trail anyway. If a couple of you want to do that,
I'd like to do that.
I think you'd enjoy it. Anybody else up for a field trip? Get outside, see some
I'm in.
wildflowers.
I'm in. I'd love to do it.
Chad, Don, anybody else?
Actually, we probably need to be careful, Chad, because of the walking quorum issue. So what happens is if 3 commission members are working on something together outside of an open meeting, then you can't talk to a 4th member. It's a violation of the Open Meetings Act. So if you guys want to, at this meeting, reset and have 3 new people like you and 2 other people join, then just make sure it's only 3 until we get to the next open meeting, so that we're not doing anything that's not that's a quorum, if that makes sense.
But
If somebody else is interested, I'll forego. Doesn't matter to me.
well, wait a minute. See, I've seen all this is my point. Y'all could go and I could stay home. My husband.
Yeah, right now we're hearing that maybe Don and you, Mary Elizabeth, are willing to stay home. If it's not a violation of the open
Right.
meetings, then Chad right now is available, and maybe, you can hook him up with George, and I would love to go as well to see whatever George has to show us.
I'd like Dawn to go, because I think Dawn's on this project. So I'd like the 3 of you, Chad, Dawn, and Phil, to go.
Actually, would it be possible to advertise it as a public meeting and have all of the board and commission members all of the park commission members able to go out there, and then any public person could join as well if they wanted to join the meeting?
Sorry, I wasn't able to unmute while I was sharing. We would have to somehow record everything and then create minutes. I'm sure we can investigate and look into how we might be able to make that work. It's just if it was a public meeting and we did advertise it, we would have to comply with the rules that we do with our other meetings.
Can someone go out there and take a video of it, and then we can share it at our next meeting?
Or I wonder if we could set up a Zoom meeting and then have our phones, and when we talk, it could be through our phones, as long as there's reception out there, perhaps.
I'm pretty sure.
Just to open it up to as many people being able to participate who want to.
I'm pretty sure there's reception out there.
Where is the location? I do believe that I think a meeting of a governmental body in Rollingwood has to be within the city limits. But I guess if it was a Zoom meeting, I guess I'm not clear on whether it would have to.
We're definitely not going to be in the city limits of Rollingwood. So
Is
forget
there
that.
I'm sorry, is there interest in more than 3 park board members going? Because if there's, it seems like it'd be awkward to try to work with iPhones and stuff like that. And we could certainly take videos where it seemed important, or take photographs or notes and share it with the board.
I will tell you, this is a significant trail. For any of you that have children that are scout troops or anything like that, or any of you that like to hike, you really should see this trail. It's the longest trail that we have going in this area, 30 miles. If it's going to go all the way from Barton Springs down into Hayes County, they're working on connections from down through Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center. I mean, this is a significant trail. It connects libraries and stores and schools. If you haven't seen this, you might want to see this. And just as our neighborhood trail is used by the community, so this trail is too. I think it's really important to see if you haven't, but I'm not going to try to sell it anymore. It's up to you guys.
Sold.
I think it's wonderful. And again, appreciate so much the contact that you have and bringing and educating us on the opportunities to be able to preserve one of our biggest assets of Rollingwood, which is our park. And so however we can go about getting more information and seeing it either eye to eye or through another presentation, or maybe somehow bring it up to City Hall, fantastic. I think it's a great opportunity to learn more about the material. And this ultimately the conversation that we're trying to come to, I think as well, is to say, okay, are we as a commission willing to take it to the next step? We're starting to do the investigation. We're starting to understand what components can be put in here. We have an engineer involved. And then we wanted to get everybody else's from the commission's perspective on, yes, continue to move forward with this. This is something to build excitement about and something to see, because I think Mary Elizabeth, you had mentioned that there are grants that are available, or maybe Wendi, you have some insight from your previous work on the commission, as well as this, coming in the city council on there are grants that could be used when you have a shovel ready project. And so the three of us just want to bring it to y'all to say, what other things should we be thinking about? What other avenues should we be exploring? And what direction do you want to give us so that we can do some work between now and the next meeting and bring it back to, all right, phase one, we've done some initial work. Now let's share that work with you, what we found, and then where do we want to go from here? Don and Mary Elizabeth, do you kind of agree with that?
Generally, yeah, I was, when I looked over Rick's preliminary proposal, and I was sort of concerned that we would do a lot of work on this. And, a lot of times these preliminary stuff, even budgeting, is pro bono to get the work, but it can be real time consuming. And I was wanting to kind of touch on how likely the city council was to approve of this. And also Wendi shed a lot of light. She sent a pretty comprehensive email reply to my thoughts on this. So it looks to me like the city council is interested in this. I have no idea what it will cost. So yeah, and as far as what's next, I would say is tighten up this design. I think it needs to be more zigzaggy than that. I think an 8% drop that seems to me that's a little too steep for a wheelchair. And it seems to me we need I mean, if we gave Rick a go ahead, say we're interested, this is something we believe we want to do, then tighten it up, put some numbers on it. There's my experience of these things, there's a proposal and a budget, and then a re-proposal, then a new budget, and there's some back and forth about it. I just want to make sure that we, the park board and the city council, felt like this was worth doing and worth our time and effort. So I
agree, Don. I agree. So I'm not ready to rush into this till we agree on so many more things, including the path.
Yeah. But as far as meeting with Tim Eischen,
yes,
that sounds to me like a great idea. And I would, just from a personal perspective, I'm real interested in the Violet Crown Trail, where it goes and what it's like and all that. So
whether we do it as a group or whether we just do this on some other day, it doesn't matter to me.
Well, we should decide we should decide which three are interested in going, are going to go, and then either you or I, since you know your husband, I assume, and Mr. Eischen, maybe you could set that up.
Yeah. Who else interested in going? Anybody?
Phil is, Chad is.
I am. But like I say, I'll stand down if maybe Mary Elizabeth and Phil and Chad, maybe that'd be a
Dawn, I've been on this trail with my husband many times. I'd really like you to go. So why don't the three of you go? And I will have my husband, I will get you guys connected with him, and y'all can set up a date and go with him.
Perfect.
And with him and Tim. Perfect. Very good. All right.
Sounds great.
All right. I believe that deals with agenda item number 7. So,
Well, let's see, does it? Before we move on.
well, I know you sent the thing to Ashley, so if we want, I know Ashley has it and could share that. She showed it briefly before, so we want to discuss that.
Yeah, I don't, it seems so preliminary, but I think a brief discussion of that would be helpful. I would like to get back with Rick Thompson and just tell him what we think about this thing so far. So Ashley, could you throw that on the screen again, please? So I think what he did is he took, looks to me like the sort of the path of least resistance. It's as direct as he felt we could go. And this is what he talked about when we met with him. And my thoughts on this, I think this has an 8% and 8.3% drop. So that's a foot drop for 12 feet and foot vertical, 12 feet horizontal. That seems a little steep for wheelchairs. Another aspect of this trail is that it would tend to open up that area for picnics and stuff like that. And I think in terms of a windier trail with lower slope. And those are my thoughts on this very preliminary thing here. So.
Did he also mention in his email that there would be some sort of ledges where they would be stopping points with railings versus just sort of platforms, for lack of better words?
Yeah, landings.
Landing, so that as the grade is changing, that there would be a landing for the wheelchair to be able to, I don't know.
To rest.
That reminds me of in Colorado on the really steep mountains, when you're coming down, there's a place for trucks to pull off into these pits in case their brakes go out. I don't think that really works for wheelchairs, and it's certainly not ADA compliant. So if we're going for ADA compliant, let's go for it. 8% doesn't work.
And when you put landings, that takes up some of your ability to drop. That would actually make the parts that were sloping, seem like it'd make them more sloping. I'll ask Rick about what he means by that. And I thought when we met with him, he talked about it needing to be a 5% drop. So I'll ask him about the landings. I'll ask him about the percent of drop. And
because he saved this as ADA concept. And I don't know the specifications or the requirements for it. So Don, I think that's a great point to circle back with Rick and ask him, what is the ADA compliant rules and regulations? So this way we can inform ourselves as well as the Park Commission of here's what the standards are. So I think that would be helpful, unless Wendi, you have this from your previous research of what ADA compliant would be on this path or the slope.
I sent a response to Dawn's email today, and it does specify in the park master plan under our ADA study that was done of the park what the slope would have to be. So I just copied and pasted that. And I just asked Ashley to send that out to the Park Commission so that y'all can look at that as well. But the park master plan has a very comprehensive ADA study done that I think would be worth everybody just reading through and looking at.
Well, I read that, and the ADA compliance is rather technical and rather, it's thorough. I mean, they deal with the side-to-side slope of paths, which I understand if you're in a wheelchair, it could be a lot of work to keep yourself going straight when the thing is slanting to the side. Maybe I should read through that again and just refamiliarize myself, because there's a lot of information. There were like 25 out of compliance items noted on it.
If you look at page 106 of the park master plan, it talks about walking surfaces, and the running slope of walking surfaces shall not be steeper than 120, and then the cross slope of walking surfaces should not be steeper than 148. So that was what we are out of compliance with on many of our sidewalks already. So it's showing with the
48.
okay.
What page was that again?
Page 106.
Gosh, 1 in 48, that path through the area we've been talking about would be so long. As Rick has shown it, it's 1 to 12, 1 to 48 would be 4 times as long. Okay, I'll look over this. Wow. Well, that's, I guess that's what makes this a pretty comprehensive project, to say the least. So,
And there's also an addendum to the park master plan that has the proposed walking trail that was already designed and researched, and Nudge Design has a proposal in there and even renderings of what it would look like. So I think that it would be worth the Park Commission going and looking at that as well, because it does show a path that runs behind City Hall as opposed to running through the wooded area over there. And it could be something that if we do move forward with either renovating or designing City Hall, that we could possibly put into the bond if it's going to help with the drainage for that facility, as it's contemplated in the plan that's in the master plan right now.
yeah, that plan was as I recall it, it was a huge couple of switchbacks. I know Rick was said it looked awfully steep to put in. This is tricky. I don't know. Did they bring in civil engineers? Was that done as a you might do it this way, or was it an engineered addressing everything about ADA? You know what? I'll look that up in the thing and read about it. So
yeah, Ashley, if you're able to pull up the ADA trail master plan and kind of show the Park Commission that, I think that'd be helpful. We did meet with Nudge Design, and we also met with a city engineer, and we met with Brinkley Sargent, who were the architects designing City Hall. So it has been something that was thought through, and that we spent some city resources on getting a design for. So I hate to see it all scrapped, but if it isn't the direction that the Park Commission wants to go, if the Park Commission does want to change the design, that's, you know, within your right to make a recommendation about that. But as of right now, the design that's approved in the approved Park Master Plan is something I think that we should at least contemplate and look at before abandoning it altogether.
yeah, I agree.
Ashley, are you able to pull that up?
I'm working on it.
Okay, sorry, she can't unmute while she's
No worries. Yeah.
screen sharing, I forgot.
Okay, I'm gonna start the screen share. I'm still getting over there to the park master plan. Let me know if y'all are able to see.
Yeah,
the
we can
web.
see it.
That's what I should
So
have
it's the third one down. There you go.
Oh gosh, okay, let me see. I'm going to unscreen share while I pull it up. I'm not sure what all it's gonna do, and then I'll get right back on. Let me know if there's a particular place y'all are wanting to start.
Okay, hey, maybe we just start at the first slide and we can kind of talk through it. So you can see on the second page, if you scroll down, that is the area where we're looking at possibly putting a switchback coming from the current granite trail, and then bringing the trail back around, possibly even connecting with the parking lot. So it's just showing where the old police trailer used to be, where there's trees. We did work around the large trees so that we wouldn't lose any of our big trees. So if you go to page number 3, it's showing the stairway that's there right now, that's, you know, in front of where City Hall is, and then just some context of where the trees are and what that area looks like. So there's an informal trail that goes down there right now. And you can see that we have some invasive species and some drainage that goes down there. So if you go down to the next slide, it's talking about the ADA trail connection will increase the walkability of the upper and lower park area, making it more accessible by foot, bicycle, wheelchair, and even a stroller. It will serve the community by linking City Hall and its surrounding outdoor spaces to the park, providing more continuous experience on the 8 acres. And then if you go down to the page 5, you can see where the existing trail is that goes around the baseball field. And then if you look at the number 6, that's the existing granite trail. If you look at the number 5, that's the switchback. And then you can see how the trail goes behind City Hall and down and over to the pavilion. And so the hope is that it would help open up that area of the park and get kind of connectivity around the whole park. If people wanted to ride their bikes or use strollers, it would just allow a more connected experience from the upper to the lower park and bring us into ADA compliance. And then if you go down to 6, it talks about the ADA, it runs behind City Hall. It says, by making this connection right behind City Hall, the building will become more integrated and embedded in the resident park experience. The ADA connection will draw people to the lower pavilion and assist all users in their ability to traverse the steep slope. New native gardens will expand the beloved City Hall gardens that already exist. And in addition, the strategic use of biofiltration gardens will assist with the existing drainage and erosion issues. And part of the reason why the design was put behind City Hall is that we currently have a situation where runoff runs down the hill behind City Hall and it floods the building when it's a bad rain. And that's part of the reason why our police had to move into the police trailer, because the building was constantly flooded and it had water damage and mold. So the ADA trail connection could be used as a resource to help with the drainage and actually have some drainage built into that facility, which is something that the engineers talked about. If you go down to 7, then that, I don't know, what is this?
11
Is that
the trail.
okay? 11 is the trail. And then if you go down to 8, they're talking about the different materials that we have in the park right now: rock, granite, concrete, and then what a rain garden would look like when we're talking about the biofiltration gardens. So it's worth looking and kind of reading through. I won't read it all out loud to y'all right now, but if you go down to 9, then it's showing a rendering at the bottom of what that trail connection may look like running back there, and how it would have rails and just kind of what it would look like. And then of course it's, doesn't have the native gardens around it, but those would be expanded in like what they talked about in slide number 8.
Is this something we should engage Nudge? Is it Nudge? They're the people that did this, Nudge?
Nudge Design are the company that did our park master plan. And I think they did a fantastic job, and they are amazing and really responsive, really good people to work with.
But I think that we've moved.
They have civil engineers and people that can actually design for construction. I assume they do. Should we be working with them since they've already, I mean, I don't know. I'm just.
I don't see why. We've moved beyond them, Don. We're already talking to Rick. We're talking to Tim. At this point, I mean, we've moved on. I
Okay.
don't know why we'd go back.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I don't think that we've moved on, Mary Elizabeth. I think this is the first time that we've had this conversation in a public meeting. And so I think that, we're discussing this and we, you get to make a decision as a park commission on whether or not this is a project that y'all want to take up. And that's why it's on the agenda today.
Right.
So
Okay. This retaining wall and handrail, and that I'm seeing at the bottom, so that goes right through that area that we're talking about doing a trail right now. That was y'all's vision for that?
So it runs behind City Hall, but it does go through that wooded area. There's a switchback, and it also can connect up to the parking lot to help bring visitors down to City Hall and also down to the pavilion area. So that is what was envisioned in the study that Nudge Design did, and then this design proposal that was adopted by the City Council.
So this could be, instead of what we're talking about, y'all could use this design.
Again, if the Park Commission doesn't want this design, it's up to y'all. I'll leave it to you for discussion, but this is something that we've already expended city resources on and time. And so we have an approved design in the Park Master Plan now.
Oh, I understand. I understood that. I just wanted to make sure that this was in the spot that we're discussing. I understood the rest. Okay, thank you.
It is in a different location than the proposed trail that Rick Thompson is met with us about. That is winding through the wooded area that it runs parallel to City Hall, but not behind City Hall.
Okay. See, I don't ever see that much. I don't envision that much space behind City Hall. So this is actually more behind it, whereas what we're doing is more to the next to City Hall.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you so much for clarifying that.
And one thing, Wendy, in my understanding, if I heard you correctly, I'm not sure I did, is that the behind would necessitate a redoing or redesign of the City Hall in general. It would be incorporated with a redesign or rebuilding of the current City Hall. Is that true?
I think that when we were working through this design with Brinkley Sargent for our needs assessment we were doing for City Hall and with Nudge Design for our Park Master Plan, the thought was that if we do move forward with either a remodel or a rebuilding of City Hall, that this could possibly be something that is included in the bond package, because it would also serve as drainage facilities for City Hall. And so it is a big ticket item. And so looking at how we would actually fund a project this large is important. We did talk about possibly getting grants from the Austin Park Foundation, from Texas Parks and Wildlife. There is some grant matching that has to happen there, which possibly could come through RCDC. But the thought was, if we were going to do a project on City Hall, and if we were going to go out for bond, that would be a way to fund this project and get it done.
Right. So going behind, having an ADA compliant trail behind City Hall could or could not work with the current City Hall that we have.
Yeah, the footprint of the current City Hall that we have is staying where it is. They don't propose moving the site anywhere. If you look at our, perhaps we should put that on the next agenda. If you look at the needs assessment of what they're proposing for the different scenarios for City Hall, it's all basically in the same area. The idea is to open up the area behind City Hall and make more of a community gathering place and more of a connection to the park, so that people can come and have a connected experience, possibly put some game tables out there. There's different things that the Nudge Design had worked up as where it could be a more of a community gathering place at City Hall and behind City Hall, and then more of the park that we could use.
I never realized we had that much space back there. I need to walk back there sometime. That would be wonderful to open that up and have.
Yeah, right now it feels very closed off because there's that big fenced area where Public Works stores all of their stuff. And then there's also those carports. Some of it was knocked down, but there's those carports that are there where there's a lot of city materials stored.
Right.
But if you walk beyond that, there is a big patio area behind City Hall with some, tiered walls, and that just expanding that area is kind of the vision for City Hall as well. The Brinkley Sargent needs assessment it's done by more engineering kind of people than it is, architecturally beautiful. But I think if you get an architect involved in designing City Hall or remodeling it, we could really make that a beautiful community center where we talked about rolling dais. The dais could be put away and it could be used as a gathering place for our residents and have a big open space out back that connects with the park. So that's the vision that the city council had on that.
I love it.
A quick question too, 2 questions maybe. For Don, when you circle back with Rick, would you ask him, for some reason, I believe in that meeting that we initially had with him, his suggestion was, if you go to the directory, which is in the master park plan, the cost is more costly because you have to support, and the infrastructure to support that trail and that grade is
Yes.
greater than if you wind. And
Yeah,
then
he said it would be, it's putting the trail in on a cliff of sorts. And that is more or less a cliff back there. He did indicate that he thought that would be quite a bit more costly.
And again, and so that's what I recall from our meeting with Rick. And then Wendi, for you, when this proposed location came up, was cost a consideration, or do you recall any kind of conversations about if anybody would think that it would be more expensive to go where you've proposed it versus kind of where Rick is proposing it? Was that ever in kind of any kind of consideration or discussion at, when this was being built? Because we don't want to go against what city council, is proposing, but at the same time, we want to be cost effective on which path. If the path gets to the same spot, which in this situation, it does not. Ours goes to the sidewalk. I'm not saying ours, but the one that Rick drew up goes to the sidewalk off of Nixon, where y'all's goes behind City Hall. So I don't know if there's a way you can connect and make both, or if that's a moot issue.
Yes, it was actually something considered from a cost perspective because we have to build drainage facilities back there anyhow. And so we thought we could do both in one project. And the other thing is that, the engineers had originally proposed just behind there putting like a giant butter stick wall and taking out the trees and doing like a real engineer job on fixing the drainage rather than, something that's aesthetically pleasing that keeps nature. And so, when Buck and I were meeting about this, it's one thing that we really advocated for was trying to find a way to keep the trees, to keep the natural feel back there, but to address the drainage for City Hall that we have to address. And so that, is why we came up with the idea of combining the 2 projects into one project, and that hopefully would provide a cost savings and just the functional ADA trail connection, as well as the beauty of that nature back there being preserved.
So then we, as the Park Commission, having the 2 paths as an option at this point, how do we want to collaborate and which direction do we want to go?
Well, do we really, and there's nothing much we can do about this trail right now, can we? I mean, the City Hall, is there anything we can do about this trail right now?
I'm not sure how I can imagine how you could combine drainage and a trail. A trail, it seems like could be more like a dam of sorts. Maybe it's just built into the concrete work, which would comprise the trail. That suddenly we're beyond the scope of our initial thought, which was a connector trail. Thinking about resolving drainage behind City Hall that's not sure how to think about that, frankly.
Can we go back real quick to look at that rain garden that you showed us on one of the previous slides? Oh, wait. Yeah, that rain garden. So I think maybe this helps us here, and maybe going on the Violet Crown Trail might give us some ideas, and we could ask George if he has anything like this for us to, there won't be a rain garden, but he might be able to show you some things there. Also, I will ask him if there's anything that he could include that might give you some ideas. But actually, I can see that a trail that runs along with the side of the trail was raised. You wouldn't have to have such a steep wall as this, but you could incorporate a rain garden on one side. I could see that it could be done with proper design. I think Tim Eischen may have some ideas here. So these are the kind of questions you might want to talk to him about on that walk.
For sure.
Yeah, I think, and you guys, I think y'all did a good idea trying to combine the two, the trail and the rain gardens, combine these things. And I think these are all really good ideas to bring up on that walk. So I hesitate. I like the idea that you had of trying to move forward, but I think it's too soon to move forward. Let's keep gathering our ideas. For instance, before today, I wasn't aware we were trying to, do these things also. So I think we're going to do a better idea. I didn't know that was a goal, was to try to work with drainage and for City Hall as well. So I think gathering all this information, I think we're still in that stage of gathering all this information, and we'll do a better job. So personally, I think our next step is to get these guys out on that trail and get more information there and learning more about the grades. And also, I do believe that there are, for ADA compliant trails, I think there are different compliances that are necessarily both for nationwide and for Texas. And I'm not sure what they are. So that's something else for us to find out. And Tim might be a good resource for us there just because that's what he's doing. So there you go.
And if y'all want to move forward with the rehabilitation of our current trail system, that it's really needing some love, that is a project that you can move forward with and not have it combined with this project. Although you could be working on on this in the background and seeing what, information we could gather or how we can move forward with it. I think that the trail itself is a big project, and RCDC would be a great place to look for funding for that.
That's a great
Does
idea.
RCDC provide funds with the, if we go with that stay lock or stable product? Could
RCDC is able to provide funding for capital improvements. So if it's a new project, that would be considered a capital improvement. So that stay lock would be a new capital improvement. So it should qualify under what RCDC is allowed to provide funding for.
Even though it's really stabilizing the decomposed granite that currently exists.
Right. It would be a new surface and a new, way of stabilizing that we haven't done before. It wouldn't just be buying granite to put on the trail. In other words, we couldn't pay for maintenance of it and just, but if it did, come down to us needing to replace, replace parts of it. Like I know some places the erosion has eroded over even the rocks and they're not above the surface anymore. Like if we have to replace areas, that's considered a capital improvement as well.
Okay, great.
Or if we have to realign the trail in places, whatever it is, as long as it's a new project and not just maintenance.
Right. Well, we haven't, I'm not familiar with the product yet. And when George shows us that will be great. But my understanding is it's going to be some kind of a stabilizing polymer or something that is used in coordination with more decomposed granite and that type of stuff. So we would need to buy some decomposed granite to use with this product, if I'm understanding it correctly. Just wanted to be clear, the decomposed granite could also be, that would be needed to apply with this new product would be possibly funded from RCDC funds as well, correct?
I believe so. We can always check with our attorney. They are very familiar with the community development corporations and how those funds can be used. And it also would have to be a project that would be accepted by RCDC, and then it has to be advertised in the newspaper. It has to give the public a chance to comment on it. There's a lot of sort of red tape you go through with using that 4B funding. And then it would have to come to the city council and have a public hearing and be voted on. So it would certainly be something that we would make sure that we were within our legal limits to do for the project. Absolutely.
Great. So the sooner we can get ourselves educated on the product, Mary Elizabeth with George, the better, and then hopefully we'll start taking steps toward doing that. I think that's
Okay, I will get George all's email addresses today.
excellent. Thank you.
And real quick, one other sidebar, since we're talking about the trail rehabilitation of our existing trail, I met with Carrie Kaler just to do kind of an overview of the park monthly walkthroughs that we do. And she had brought up a real interesting question. You know how when we've done It's My Park Day and we come and rehabilitate the mulch and weed and plant things, she brought up an interesting idea, I thought, of what if we did an It's My Park Day and we were able to get many residents to come out and help reset those stones that are by the trail that keep the decomposed granite in, because she said Vicky is out here and she's going to keep doing anything that is a hazardous trip or anything that would be a safety, concern. She said, but the manpower involved to reset the majority of these stones is just very intense.
It is.
So I just thought, while we're talking about this maintenance, we don't have to make a decision today, but just to kick the tires about it, if we considered doing something like that, where we did an It's My Park Day, and this is our initiative, is that we're going to go and we're going to tackle this section of the trail because all of us use it. And why wouldn't we put our little bit of effort into helping preserve and fight the erosion? So it's just a thought that I wanted to throw out there since we're on this topic.
Well, I love the idea. My only concern that immediately kind of shows up is consistency, like trying to make sure that it consistently looks the same. So maybe limiting it to an area that one person can walk up and down and see and kind of say, all right, that's too low, this is too high, that type of stuff. But I love getting our citizenry hands-on and getting them more ownership in our park, so if there's a way to handle that, then yeah.
Okay.
That's the biggest, how does that get done? Given the fact that, we've administered It's My Park Days before, and a lot of great work gets done, but you can see differences based on different areas of who was doing what, and that's just natural. So
Yeah, and I think that we could have a community work day for it, but it probably does need to have some professional involvement, like an engineer. Like the project was engineered, and it was laid by our residents that came out and did the labor to put the trail in the first place. I wasn't here at the time; it was before I lived in Rollingwood, so it was longer than 10 years ago, but I did read the park minutes on it, and it was a community project. So I think it's very doable to try to get the community involved again.
I'm looking online and it looks like It's My Park Day is let's see. Well, National Trails Day, it starts June 5th and it stretches through June 13th. So they're using Saturday, June 12th, I think, is It's My Park Day.
are you sure that's for 2021?
Hold on.
Because I think when I looked at It's My Park Day, it's kind of been stopped until we're out of COVID. And so a lot of,
That's why they moved it to June 21st.
okay,
I mean, that's why they moved it to June this year. Normally
Okay.
it's earlier.
all right.
I would just say it's going to be pretty hot in June.
Yeah, let's see. And they're saying safety is our #1 priority. Yeah, but my point of bringing that up is, it seems like we always just do the same things for It's My Park Day, and that's we spread mulch. So I love Nicole's idea. Let's do something bigger. And there's no way Vicky can get all those blocks dug up and reset. And I don't even know how that's done. I try to imagine that, but I mean, you need to dig them up and you got to put something underneath them to raise them. But if there were enough people out there doing that, we could make a difference. We need to have the materials for doing that, but we could get the mulch at the same time. Phil said that they really need that down at that community garden. Maybe if we really, but we need someone to chair this whole thing, to run this show, someone that knows how to organize, and that's not me. I'm not an organizer. But if we get the date for the It's My Park Day, if we really organize this, maybe we could make something happen. Nicole, who gave you that idea for resetting those stones? You're muted.
Sorry, Carrie from Building Development at City Hall. And maybe I'll just circle back with Carrie and see if we can come up with a way that we could tackle a certain area with some protocol, with some simple ways to be able to make it consistent. And then I'll put it on the agenda for next meeting, just in the interest of time. We're almost at 11 hour in. And
Gosh.
I want to be mindful of everyone's time and all the commitment that everyone's put into this.
Yeah, put it on the agenda. That'd be great.
For sure.
Where's Phil?
It looks like we've lost Phil on his computer. Does somebody want to step up to run the meeting until Phil gets back?
I'm just going to pipe in here and say, if everyone's okay, we'll move on to our next agenda item, which is discussion and possible action to review private.
Hey, guys.
Oh, there you are. Good. I didn't want to have to.
I had to call in. My computer died, so sorry to leave you guys in the lurch, but now I'll just use my phone instead. So are we through with, I heard Nicole is taking over, is what it sounded like.
No,
but,
I'm not taking over. It's just in the interest of time.
Oh, come on. All right. So we're through with agenda item number 7. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And we're moving on to 8.
Yes.
Okay, great. So, and did you already read out what 8 is, or should I do that?
Please read it.
Okay. Agenda item 8, discussion and possible action to review private and commercial rate structure and rental fees for Rollingwood Park facilities and Hatley Fields, and to make a recommendation to the City Council.
Okay, thank you, Phil. So I was the one who put this on the agenda, and the next few are from me. So I just want to be mindful of everybody's time. I'm happy to table this until next meeting. But basically, one of the reasons why I abstained from today's vote on approving the commercial permit is because I believe that the rate fee structure is very nominal, very low for our beautiful parks. And I believe we're doing a disservice to our operating budget by not strategically planning and discussing this further. And if we look at competitive rates around the area of what field space is going for, it is only going up and up and up. And we have such a difficult time maintaining and operating what our biggest asset is in our city. And then we kind of give it away almost for free. And I just wanted to say that's why I abstained from today's vote, is simply because I believe that this is something that we should either break off into a smaller group and evaluate. We can look at Austin ISD, what they charge, Eanes ISD, different rental structures in the area, and then be able to provide something more constructive and more financially sound and present it to city council for them to review and maybe adopt into the budget moving forward. So this was something that we had discussed back in July of last year. And so it's gotten lost in the shuffle. So just basically these next 3 or 4 items are the same situation. And I'm happy to, that's the background of it. That's why it's on the agenda. And we can either make a motion to take action today, table this item to come back to the next meeting, or make a motion to table it indefinitely. And I just wanted to bring it up to everyone today to see how would we like to go on. And I know we still have a lot to get through. So my vote would be to table this item and come back to the next meeting. But I just wanted to throw it out there for everybody else to kind of chime in on it.
I agree that the rates should be higher, and that's, our park is so valuable. And anytime we lease it out to somebody that brings traffic and some liability to the city, and so I agree. So is there a motion?
Is there any way we can get some information, like you suggested, Nicole, of competitive surrounding rates, and include that in our packet for discussion next time? Because I think if we had that and then people could review that prior to the meeting, that would make it move much more quickly.
Happy to do that. And Don, if you want to partner up with me on this, you and I can do a sidebar and just kind of kick the tires and see what we can find out. I have a lot of contacts with Eanes ISD. I've rented out from them personally, as well as for other sports. So we have some information out of the gates that it shouldn't be too difficult to be able to kind of bring some numbers to the table for the next meeting, if you're agreeable with that.
I agree. And I also think that we don't necessarily have to align ourselves with what others are doing. I think we should make it where it's worthwhile to the city. I don't think we owe, pardon me being a selfish resident here, but I don't think we owe the use of our park to anybody, really, except maybe a Rollingwood resident. And I'd like our rates to reflect that to some extent. I could see it getting so busy with people being there and traffic in and out and all that. I don't know, it just doesn't. Limited commercial usage seems to make sense to me. So yes, I'll be happy to work with you on that.
Thank you.
I agree with you, Don. I absolutely agree. And you also have to consider what the time is worth to our staff keeping up with all this. So
Right.
And the fact that when they do have these groups, they're limited to so few people, and yet they take up that space that.
Right.
You know.
And that's a prime time, like what she was requesting today, that's a prime time when moms get out with their littles and it's not a nap time and they want to use the space, and now it's been rented out to a commercial, anyway, so I'm going to make a motion to table this item to come back to the next meeting and work with Dawn. If anybody else wants to work with us, that would be great.
Second.
I'm willing to work with you guys if you need it, or if you desire a third, that's fine too. One thing I do think to put in, Don, is I really appreciate your point. And one point is that Eanes ISD and those type of things, like those facilities are already kind of heavily subsidized by our tax base and tax dollars. And so you're absolutely correct that I think it's a good place for us to look, but we don't need to necessarily align ourselves with their cost structure, since they're basically being so heavily subsidized, and our parks aren't. So that's all I would say about that. But
the deed restrictions also, they're about making these parks available to Eanes ISD families. Anyway, that's enough said, I think.
Sure. All right.
Awesome. Thank you,
So,
team.
Can we take a
motion
vote?
has been made to table it. Is there any more discussion on item number 8? Hearing none, I guess we can move on to 9. All right,
Okay,
agenda item number 9. Discussion and possible action on fundraising plan.
yes, this would be me again. This was brought out back in July of last year. Again, got lost in the shuffle. Just wanting to understand that part of our responsibility as Park Commission is to try to raise funds to offset some of the costs with relationship that there is a deficiency between what our property tax dollars, where they go and what they fund. And this is just unfortunately something that just exists. It exists in Eanes ISD as well, is that it's a public school, but they need to be privately funded because they just can't be the exemplary district that they are, #1 in the state of Texas, if we didn't fund them. So similar to that structure, but again, here with the interest of time, the question that I have is, do we want to take action, which we don't really have any information on, table this item to come back to the next meeting, or make a motion to table it indefinitely? And I'll leave it at that. If anybody has any thoughts or wants to discuss this. And I think the last that we discussed as a commission is that given COVID, trying to come out and do a fundraising plan, it's could be strenuous on our residents. And maybe we table this until we have more direction on if we're going to do any kind of trail improvement. And then we see kind of costs associated with any kind of projects that we're looking to bring to the parks, and then possibly revisit a fundraising plan at that time.
That makes sense. Seems like.
So then I'll make a motion to table this fundraising plan indefinitely until we come up with something that requires funding as far as a park initiative. Does that sound reasonable?
Yes.
Sounds reasonable. So I've heard a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mary Elizabeth. So motion by Nicole, second by Mary Elizabeth. All those in favor say aye or wave your hand. I can't see that right now, but
Aye.
aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we will table the fundraising for now. Moving on to item number 10, discussion on the playscape mulch.
Yes, this would be me again. So September 2020, this item was on the agenda. It was lost in the shuffle. I don't recall who put it on the agenda to begin with. And I'm not sure if we have a quarterly system of maintaining playscape mulch or if it's monthly or annually. I believe we had almost $11,000 worth of playscape mulch that we approved, that city council approved to pay on our behalf. So I just wanted, again, to revisit this because our playscapes is one of our biggest assets out there. Having some kind of a routine maintenance schedule or understanding what our requirements are to be compliant is important. And again, with the interest of time, we can take action, table this item, or make a motion to table it indefinitely. And just want to open up for discussion with the entire commission.
Do we need playscape mulch right now?
See, I don't even know the regulations or the requirements.
Who does?
The requirements are 12 inches. We can have Vicky evaluate the playscapes to see if we need to get that done. And then I don't think it's necessary for another agenda item. We'll just make it happen.
That would be great.
Awesome.
Done.
Thank you so much.
Can you make it happen? Can we have some kind of, like, it gets just looked at monthly, and that's just one of the things that our great service staff just kind of keep an eye on and update as needed?
Yes.
That would be
Awesome.
great. Thank you so much. Tell Vicky, thank you.
Yeah, Vicky and Nate and everybody else. Don't leave everybody else out. Come on.
No, I don't know who else is there. I mean, Eli's gone. I don't know who's Nate.
Oh, he's awesome.
Nate Sullivan.
Nate is
Yeah, Nate.
awesome.
Yeah. Agreed. Nate is awesome. So is Vicky.
Great.
We've got great staff.
Good.
All right, moving on to item number 11, discussion and possible action regarding reduction or removal of ligustrum tree invasive species in Rollingwood Park.
Yes, so I put this back on there. Y'all can, it was started in December with Colleen before she sold her house and relocated, or just moved to Westlake Hills. And again, we're just trying to clean up any loose items here that have been lost in the shuffle.
Good.
Not sure if we want to take any action, table this item, come back to it the next meeting, or make a motion to table it indefinitely.
I don't know what actions have been taken. I have discussed this on occasion. Vicky has just informally talked to me about it and said that she was going to try something where she cut the larger ones, cut their trunks, and then I think drilled out and put some kind of a herbicide that was not, that would still be natural and not, you know, toxic in any way, to see if that would possibly get rid of them. So maybe at some point Vicky could re-look at that or talk to us about that. I also know that one of the great things that came about because of our heavy winter apocalypse was that some of the ligustrums actually got killed off. I don't know if that happened on the lower park, especially on that slope where maybe they got some shelter from that weather. But I know in my yard, it looks like I've got a dead ligustrum and I couldn't be happier. So,
Now, the ligustrums do help stabilize that cliff.
Yeah, we're not talking
They
about
do.
the cliff, right?
Pardon me?
Well, we're not talking about a cliff. It's not, well, I mean, it's a very steep, it's the steep slope from the upper to the lower part. Yes, a lot. There's one, and then there's also a large ligustrum over that is holding some hillside over there near Nixon. And that one's actually not horrible looking. We would want to replace it with something else to hold that soil before we eradicated that one, if we
It's good
chose
looking.
to eradicate that one.
If it's good looking,
Yeah.
maybe we consider leaving it. I
I
don't know.
honestly,
Well, the only thing about it being good looking is those things are just incredibly invasive. So if we want,
Like,
you're going to have it spread all over the place. That's the issue with ligustrums. But anyway,
I just think we need to be careful so that we don't end up with more erosion issues caused by removing these.
absolutely.
So that's my only concern. Other than that, I'm all for getting rid of them.
Yeah, I would think we would need a plan on replanting and getting some native, non-invasive trees somewhat established in coordination with trying to get rid of some of the ligustrums, for sure.
As long as we don't remove, if any trees that we cut down or kill, just don't remove their root system so we don't disturb the earth. That will help.
Right. And that was what seemed to be being proposed by Vicky, was that we weren't going to rip it out of the ground. She was going to cut off a trunk, stuff like that. But maybe if she can give us more information, or whether she's tried that or anything like that, that would be great before the next meeting or at the next meeting. That would be wonderful if we could get some information from her on how she's planning on addressing that, and how we can make sure we're not creating an unintended consequence of erosion as a result of getting rid of those invasive ligustrums.
I thought we had decided to focus on some of the smaller ones instead of tackling those larger ones.
I think we're doing both.
Okay.
Should we have a motion to move this to the next meeting and get Vicky to update us on her thoughts on all that?
I would like that.
Okay, well, I'll make that motion to move this item to next month and get Vicky to come update us on all that.
Okay, motion made by Don.
I'll
I
second
believe I heard
that.
second by Mary Elizabeth. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any more discussion? Hearing none, we're moving on to 12. Discussion and possible action to add the monthly park walkthrough schedule with the scheduled participants to the Rollingwood Park Commission webpage. I would be in favor of this. Anybody
Okay.
else?
Yes, but we have to do something. We actually have to complete and sign up, because we are not going to post it on the website until all the slots are full. And the last time I checked, we have not filled all the slots. So
Okay.
do y'all still have access to the Google Drive that Ashley sent out that shows the calendar year for this year? And I can read off what's open, and I'm happy to fill it in right now on the spot, unless
Let's
y'all
do
need to
it.
check your calendars.
Let's do it.
Okay, so we have, for the May 18th, we have Don Hudson signed up. Okay, and let's give Chad a little background here. Chad, the second Tuesday of the month, I believe,
Okay.
or maybe it's the second Tuesday or third Tuesday of the month, 2 members from the Park Commission go out and do a monthly walkthrough of the park and make note of anything that's out of order or needs addressing. And then we have been having a working document that we then send off to the city, Elaine over there, who then disperses those work orders to the appropriate people to have them addressed. So
Okay.
that's what we're talking about here, is this monthly walkthrough, where it usually takes about an hour. It starts at 10:30 in the morning, and then you just walk it with another Park Commission member, and y'all take notes, and then we communicate that with the city so that we are all keeping up to date with maintenance and operations of what's going on over there. So that's just a little bit about what this is. So the next dates we have is May 18th at 10:30. We have Don signed up. Does anybody else want to sign up?
Nicole, by the way, I've double booked myself.
Don is no longer available.
I'm no
Would
longer
anyone like to take
available.
his spot?
I'll be in New Orleans that day.
Oh, lucky you. I can do May 18th. What time do we do it?
10:30 in the morning. Any other volunteer?
I can do it.
Chad, thank you.
Yep.
Awesome.
Is
All right.
April,
Where does everybody usually meet?
Usually up by where you can meet at City Hall, doesn't matter. Y'all can decide.
Let's meet at the upper parking lot, at that little parking lot.
So
You're
where the police department portable
Yeah.
used to be? Okay. Then June, Lori Mills is signed up. And does anybody else want to sign up? I can do June. I'll do June.
Okay, so Chad and I are for May.
Yes, ma'am. So then July 20th. Anybody know their summer plans yet, if they're going to be in town or not?
so far, I'm in town and we would be happy to take July 20th.
Thank you, Don. And do we have anyone to join Don?
I'm checking.
I'll join Don.
Awesome.
Up.
Excellent. And then we're moving into August. August 17th, 10:30 a.m.
You know, there's so few people at the meeting that you're gonna be leaving out. We
Well,
may-
Lori
David and Lori.
did June and Lori did September, so she's good. She's got, 1 a quarter. And if
okay.
we don't have 2, that's okay. 1 can be fine, and we'll just say,
And Nicole, if there are any open spots still, I'll forward it out again after this meeting. I'll send the link out so anybody who, wasn't at the meeting can look at it and fill in the empty spots if they want to.
perfect.
And I'll go ahead and just try to post it to the website. I'll give them till the end of the week maybe, and I'll post it as is. And if anyone has any conflicts or comes up where they can't attend, I would think it'd be best just to contact, another member and see if they can go in your place. And I think we're fine with that. It doesn't necessarily have to go back to the whole commission.
That's great to know. So if we don't have anybody in August right now, we'll just leave that blank. Then we already have September full, October 19th. I know we're in the fall, but again, like Ashley said, let's just get our names in there. And if a conflict comes up, then we'll just reach out to one of our commission members and see if somebody else could do it.
You're looking for October 19th?
Yes, sir.
I'll do one of those days. And I wanted to ask, is April?
I'll take that one.
is
Okay.
April taken? April.
April is taken.
Okay.
That would be myself and Lori. But if you want to do it, I'll jump out and I'll do a different month.
Well, I bagged on May. I could do that if you want. It doesn't matter.
I'm good. Thank you, though.
Okay.
Okay,
So
sure.
you've got April. So,
Yes,
so I'm down for October 19th.
correct. And then we have November 16th.
Do we need somebody else for October 19th?
We have Chad and Don right now.
Okay.
Yep.
November 16th, I can do it.
Awesome. Thank you, Mary Elizabeth. Anyone else?
Put Lori on there.
Okay.
I'm kidding. Well,
Oh,
I interrupt. She's not here.
that's what I
And-
always do that to people.
the next one is December 21st. So we can just leave that blank for right now since it's so close to
I
the
can,
holiday.
I can do November with Mary Elizabeth if
Awesome.
that's,
Bill McDuffie.
there we go.
This has been a working document since January of 2020. Okay, we're full. We're good to go. Ashley, thank you so much. And everybody else, commission, thank you so much for getting this done. So this way we can get it on the website and move on through.
Okay. So with that, that gets through all of our agenda items that are actionable. There is the park financials posted out there, but do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a move that we adjourn.
Motion by Mary Elizabeth to adjourn. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second by someone, I think maybe
Don.
Chad. Was that your voice?
Is Don?
Okay. Don. Second by Don. All those in favor say aye or wave or do something. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to adjourning? We are adjourned. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.